are going to add some details of the incident that occurred yesterday in the village of Geneseo. But I would like to initially say that all the information that we have determined thus far we're still early on in our investigation. Some of the determinations that we have come to and what we believe to had occurred yesterday are still under investigation, and some of those circumstances may change at any time due to further investigation or any results from the medical examiner's office. As information was indicated yesterday, the Geneseo or the Livingston County 911 Center received a call at approximately 6 in the morning from a father here in Geneseo, Mr. Kingston. Mr. Kingston indicated to the 911 dispatcher that he had apparently received a call from his son, Colin Kingston, at which time he apparently indicated that he had brought some harm to his ex-girlfriend, Miss Anisi. Information, the 911 dispatcher gathered as much information she can from the father, and through some questioning, they were able to determine that the possible location was Miss Anisi's current local residence while she's attending college here at Geneseo at Wadsworth Street. Officers were dispatched to that address on Wadsworth Street. After a short time period making entry into the home, they did discover the bodies of 3 individuals in the second story of the residence. As we indicated yesterday, the bodies that were located were that of Kelsey Anisi, Colin Kingston, and Matthew Hutchinson. Information that we believe at this point is that at some point Mr. Kingston, Colin Kingston, went to the residence, and upon going to the residence did discover Mr. Hutchinson and in the company of Miss Anisi. There was an altercation that occurred, and we believe that during the altercation that Miss Anisi and Mr. Hutchinson did sustain some fatal stab wounds. That's also the time in which we believe the call was made to Mr. Kingston, and then when the phone call was terminated by Colin, shortly thereafter, Colin Kingston took his own life. Based on the information that we have thus far, the officers, as they arrived, and the quick response in getting to the location, unfortunately we believe that all 3 subjects were deceased at the time the officers arrived. As you heard me indicate, we also believe that this is a situation where Mr. Kingston and Miss Anisi have been in a long relationship and recently had broken up. We believe that Mr. Kingston was distraught over the breakup, which led up to the events of yesterday. So, we have a question, sir?
Can you tell us what type of weapon was used in these deaths?
Yes, I can tell you that there was a large knife used in the altercation.
You're talking about like a common kitchen knife or machete or something?
It's a large knife. The details of the knife, I think, it was a large knife.
And was the knife used also by Kingston to take his own life?
That is correct. At this point, all the indications that we have is that Mr. Kingston used that knife to take his own life as well.
Do you know if he brought the knife with him or found it there and used it?
There are some indications through our investigation that we believe at this time that Mr. Kingston did purchase the knife and bring it to the location with him.
Do you have a sense of what time? I know what time the calls came in, but do you have a sense of when this may have taken place?
I'm sorry, when the incident occurred?
When the incident occurred.
We actually have, we pretty much determined that the time of the occurrence of the incident was between the hours of 5:30 a.m. and 6:21, at which time the father made the call to 911 center. The reason why we have based it on that is we had law enforcement present at the Wadsworth Street location at 5:30 doing parking, and there were several tickets issued at 5:30 to vehicles on the street. We believe Mr. Kingston arrived after the officer due to the fact that his vehicle was not at that location or on Wadsworth Street at 5:30. So we believe the time of occurrence would be between 5:30 and 6:21 a.m.
What did Colin Kingston say to his father when he called him up?
Certainly, we can only or assume what was said, or we can certainly, the information that was relayed to us from Mr. Kingston, we have no documentation, or there is no exact recording of that conversation. So we have to take it upon what Mr. Kingston told us, as indicated that his son had made the comment that he had brought harm to Miss Anisi and that he was considering taking his own life. We were told that shortly thereafter that phone call was terminated and not much information was gained further.
Did Kingston break into the house? I mean, if it's at 5:30 in the morning, I would assume it would be locked. So did he force entry into it?
All indications through our investigation at the time is there was no forced entry into the residence. There was several locked doors, however, a rear door to the residence was unlocked at the time that the police officers arrived.
Was he hiding in any of the rooms at any point?
Certainly, we can't tell the exact route that he took from the time that he entered the residence to where the incident occurred in the upstairs bedroom. Certainly, there is a flight of stairs, several hallways that he would have had to traverse before making it to the room in which it occurred.
Where and when was the weapon?
Still under investigation. There are some initial indications that the weapon was purchased at a local retail store here, and that that is being pretty much, we have confirmed that he did purchase that. There actually was 4 people that were home at the time of the incident. This particular residence is set up to where there are 2 stairwells to the upstairs. There's front 3 apartments and back 3 rooms, I'll say, not apartments, rooms. So there was 3 individuals located or home at the time of the incident in the rear portion of the residence, and 1 individual that was home in the front portion. And there was some distance between that room and to the room that took place, a hallway, a closet, and some area.
So 4 residents in addition to the 2 victims and Kingston?
That is correct.
Did they hear anything?
All indications from talking to all those witnesses that no one had heard anything that made them believe that there was anything happening in the house or brought any suspicion to them.
Was there any sign of a struggle?
At this point, the crime scene is one in which it occurred in a small area, the bedroom. No indication that we can say that there was an actual struggle that took place. We believe that it was something that probably happened very quickly.
Any prior calls to police that would have indicated some sort of domestic issue?
No, there's no indication that there was anything police matter. There was no police incidents documentation thus involving the 2 individuals at all. That is quite possible that they were both located or both in that room sleeping at the time that Mr. Kingston entered. But again, that's pure speculation at this time. We can't say for sure whether they were awake or not.
Can you comment on whether, what caused Kingston to go to that residence in the first place?
Certainly, we believe that, again, this individual was distraught over the recent breakup. There isn't anything specific that we have come up with that said specifically why he went there, any indication why he had went there at that specific time.
You said they had been dating for a while. Could you maybe define that a little bit better? Are we talking months, years?
Most indications that we got from family and friends is that they had been dating for approximately 3 years.
Is there any indication of what Mr. Kingston was doing before?
We have spoken to several individuals that did have contact with Mr. Kingston the night prior. All of it ends in the area of bar closing time, or approximately 8, 9 p.m.
So just to be clear, and I don't know if maybe this is better for Greg, I mean, there won't be any charges coming forth on anybody in relation to this?
I can relate that off to the Lewis County District Attorney. Greg, when they responded, I believe at this time we are confident that the perpetrator in this situation was Mr. Kingston, and that he was not, there were no co-conspirators or anybody else that we're looking for, so therefore there would be no charges.
Yeah, there's multiple law enforcement agencies still involved gathering information to try to completely put everything together and have a big picture of what happened. But at this point, I don't anticipate what could be charged in this incident. But again, law enforcement's still looking at everything that happened, so we have a complete timeline of what led up to this and to get the family's full disclosure.
He was seen around 8, 9 p.m.
Where was he at that time?
in the village of Geneseo here, near Main Street.
Is it true this was off-campus student housing?
This could be considered, yes, a house that is currently rented by students in the short proximity of the campus.
Has the remaining students been offered alternative housing?
I believe that each one of them have been given an alternative. I know some family members are in town, and they're staying with family members and have been given other places to stay until things are squared away.
I think maybe you alluded to this, but can you say that Anisi and Hutchinson, were they an item? Had they begun dating?
Nothing that we have at this point is indicating that they were in a relationship. We certainly know, obviously they were together that night. As to what extent, we don't know.
Do you know when they last had contact with him prior to Anisi or Hutchinson, prior to this event?
What they had contact with,
Kingston? When they would have last spoken, met, run into each other?
we believe that there may have been some contact with Miss Anise and Anisi and Mr. Kingston a couple days prior, but we have no indication that there was any conversation between Mr. Kingston and Mr. Hutchinson.
All three victims were found in December, right?
That is correct, sir.
Had Mr. Kingston ever made any threats through text, through phone calls, anything like that?
There was some indication that Mr. Kingston was certainly very upset with the recent breakup. He had made some suicidal comments to several people, and that but no actual threats to harm Miss Anisi or anybody else.
Any indication that he was using drugs or alcohol?
At this time, we do not have any indication. Certainly, that would be something that we would get from the medical examiner's office upon final determination for a final cause of death, as well as those incidents as well, or those.
Do you think Kingston went there with the intent to kill Hutchinson and Anisi?
I think Mr. Kingston at the time was very, again, distraught. He certainly was upset, went there. His exact intentions, certainly we don't know what he was thinking as he entered the place. We certainly don't know what his intentions were when he entered that room. Everything that happened from the time that he arrived on that location to the time that we got called is something that we can only speculate most of it, and we don't know if his intention was there to bring harm to himself, bring harm to Miss Anisi.
Jeff, obviously a very different situation when someone is killed with a gun versus with a knife. Obviously a knife indicates something more personal in terms of close personal contact. Could you talk a little bit about maybe the threat that this guy would go through as a result of killing someone with a knife?
And again, that's one of those things through our training, certainly exactly as you said, somebody who uses a knife or a blade, it's a close proximity type of violence. So yeah, there certainly is a little bit more a person's thought process carrying out that degree of violence.
Just to be clear on the layout here, are we talking that when these folks rent a room, it's literally just one room?
As most residents here, off-campus housing, lots of times, apartments are situated where they rent a house. A lot of our old houses in the village are made of multiple rooms, different levels, and most often the rooms are actually rented by room. Sometimes occupied, in this case, by several members of a group or an organization, like a basketball team, hockey team, or fraternity story.
Was that the case here? Was there other members of the basketball team living at that house?
That is correct. There was a lot of members of the female basketball team living at that same household.